Not all love stories are told with words. Some of them speak loudest in silence. And when we talk about Taekook, Taehyung and Jungkook from BTS, their story is not just a string of sweet moments in front of the camera. This story is the journey of two souls who found each other in the midst of a world that is often too noisy. From their training days, Jungkook, who was still young and shy at the time, found a strange yet comforting calm in Taehyung's presence. Taehyung, who was cheerful, full of surprises, and sometimes unpredictable, became the center of gravity for Jungkook. It didn't take long for the two to become deeply connected, even without the word love being spoken. There was something in the way they looked at each other. In concerts, variety shows, or even when caught on camera backstage, their eyes spoke volumes. Jungkook's gaze at Taehyung was not merely admiration. It was the way someone looks at the only world they trust to be their home, a place to anchor themselves from the exhaustion of a world spinning too fast. Perhaps their love isn't displayed like the romantic fairy tales we know, but it exists in a more tangible form. In how Jungkook always knows when Taehyung feels uncomfortable, in how he quietly reaches out his hand when Taehyung feels anxious, in how they can laugh just by looking at each other, even when no one else understands the joke. There's an old clip of BTS in the practice room. Taehyung is playing around with the camera, and without realizing it, Jungkook stands behind him, just to make sure Taehyung doesn't trip over the cable. No words. No calls. Just a quiet presence watching over in silence. And when the camera captures that moment, thousands of fans know, it's not fan service. It's instinctive. It's not just once or twice that Jungkook has been seen searching for Taehyung in the crowd. During interviews, at international concerts, even on award show stages. His eyes scan as if there's only one person he wants to make sure is by his side. And when he finds him, that smile appears. Calm, simple and undeniable. Love like this doesn't need public acknowledgement. It lives in the small gaps that not everyone notices. When Taehyung feels unwell, and Jungkook quietly brings him warm water. When Jungkook is tired, and Taehyung pats his shoulder without saying a word. Just one touch to say, I'm here. Their silent moments are louder than any shout. Once, during a live broadcast watched by millions, they sat side by side without saying much. But the aura emanating from them seemed to silence the entire world. There were only the two of them. No cameras were needed. No applause was needed. Just their presence was enough. Many assume their closeness is just part of an entertainment strategy. But how could something so constant, so deep, and so genuine be mere fan service? There's a line between acting and honesty, and Taekook has been living on the honest side for too long. In a BTS documentary, Jungkook once said, I feel comfortable when Taehyung is around me. A simple sentence, yet full of weight. Because in his life, constantly surrounded by cameras, packed schedules, and public expectations, comfort is a rare thing. And that comfort, he found it in Taehyung. One night, after the concert ended and all the BTS members looked exhausted, the backstage camera captured Taehyung sitting in silence. Jungkook approached him, said nothing, just sat beside him and rested his head. In a world that demands so much from them, that invisible embrace was the strongest proof that their closeness was not staged. There are wounds that can only be healed by certain people. And over the course of more than a decade, Taehyung and Jungkook have often been each other's sole comfort. When storms come, from rumors, pressure, to mental exhaustion, they choose to trust each other. They are not the ideal couple in a fairy tale. They are two souls who grew up together, went through adolescence, faced the world, and still chose to come back to each other. And that is more real than any happy ending in a romantic movie. There is one moment from the Love Yourself concert that fans will never forget. Jungkook was singing his solo part, and Taehyung stood behind the stage, watching him with a proud gaze and teary eyes. It wasn't just the pride of a friend. It was a way of saying, I love you without words. And when the world began to doubt or try to limit their definition, the two continued to walk side by side, never offering clarification, never denying, because they knew that true love does not need defending. It just needs to be lived. Once, during a seemingly ordinary live broadcast, Taehyung sat playing the guitar. The notes he plucked were not BTS songs, nor were they popular melodies. But amidst the soft strumming of the strings, Jungkook sat at the far end of the room, listening with his head tilted slightly. The camera didn't focus on them. But once again we know, there was a kind of silent communication between them, one that didn't need lyrics or words. That's what makes Taekook feel so real. They don't bother explaining who they are to each other. They simply exist, in every space, in every moment, letting their togetherness speak for itself. As if saying, I won't leave, even when you don't ask me to stay. There's one small habit that not everyone notices. How Jungkook always laughs more freely when Taehyung makes a joke. That laugh isn't polite or superficial. It's the kind of laugh that comes from a deep sense of comfort, from the certainty that no matter what someone does in front of you, you won't judge them. And Taehyung, with all his uniqueness, seems to know exactly that Jungkook is always watching him. Not in an obsessive way, but like someone who always wants to make sure the person they love is okay. He often appears calmer, more grounded, when Jungkook is around. Perhaps because within him, there is a home that can only be built by one name. John Jungkook. When rumors come and go, when the outside world starts to speak too loudly, the two of them never panic. There are no overreactions, no hasty clarifications. Because they know, what matters isn't what the world thinks, but what they believe in silence. In love, sometimes silence is the best protection. Sometimes, love is seen in the simplest things, like when Jungkook holds a large umbrella to keep Taehyung dry in the rain. Or when Taehyung wipes the sweat from Jungkook's neck during a hot, exhausting concert. Few words are spoken, but that attention wraps them tighter than any words of love could. They are not just friends. They are the most honest versions of each other. In a world that constantly demands performance, they can still be themselves with each other. And that's why their bond feels so deep, so hard to explain, but so easy to believe for anyone who sees with their heart. Every step they take on stage, every accidental touch of their hands, every smile that fleets across their faces when their eyes meet. All of it forms a narrative that can never be faked. The story of two hearts that grew together and chose to stay together. And perhaps, behind all the songs, achievements, and popularity they've attained, Taekook will always be the most human part of BTS's story. A reminder that even amidst the glare of the world's spotlight, true love can still exist. Quiet, deep, and eternal. There is freedom in love that is not confined by labels. And perhaps that is why Taekook remains the most captivating mystery. They are not merely an imaginary couple. They are the embodiment of love in its purest form. Filled with silence, warmth, and eternity. Every time they look at each other, the world seems to pause for a moment. Because such love is rare. Not because it doesn't exist, but because most people aren't patient enough to see what's hidden. And Taekook? They've always been the exception. Two names, one frequency. Amidst the chaos of the world, they found each other. And perhaps, that's the purest form of love.